Hey guys, Sam here. We are Wednesday, December 13th, mid-morning. Another member requesting a look at Stellar Lumen to Bitcoin. So this has been really an interesting coin. It's been quite tricky here, and you can see I've got it labeled here. This is my primary account. Now, it's been technical, right? So we have what I'm calling now a wave 1 high in here, and the subdivision is all there, just like we'd look. If I open this up here, this will be a little more obvious here. So we had this big spike. Here's our 3-wave correction. We go down to a low here, then we get an impulsive move up here, and we've got subdivision. Remember, waves within waves, so we get excellent subdivision down here. We get a 1, 2, 3. We stay impulsive in the 3. Here's the perfect little ABC correction down into that target. We come to the C here, so we've got a 3, 4, 5. We put in a 1. 1, 2 down here. We get a little ABC. We go right into the pocket there, and then we pop from there. So we get, if I measure it out for you, from my low here to my 1 down to my 2. Right, so here was the first, and I think likely what you have here, so take note of this. So you have subdivision here. So here's the high probability zone for the 3rd. So my guess is what you have here, well, more than a guess, this is how I would label it. Within the 3rd, you get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to complete the 3rd here. Okay, the reaction there is that's not random. Okay, so we go up to the 272. Let me pull that off, and you can see even just from that, look how we've come up here. So let me pull that. So that gives us our 2 here, our 3 down for the 4. The 1 gets wicked here. We don't overlap it. So pulling from my 2 low, get right on it, to my 3 high. Where do we go? All right, so this is the second video today. Right into the hot box. Right exactly. You couldn't script it any better. Right? I'm not. I had to tell some of my members, I promise you I'm not photoshopping this. That's right into the pocket. For the 4, we get the subdivision. We get a high B, but we come down for the C, into the 4. We hold the 1, and then we start the big rip up here. So we get then from there, all right, we stay technical, all right? So is it still technical? So from our 2 low here, right, then the 1, 2, we're in between the 50 and the 618, high probability zone for the 2nd. Up for the 3rd, just a couple of ticks from the negative 618, down for the 4. We overlap. Note that. Now, we overlap the 1, but that creates an ending diagonal for us. We can see that in the 5th. So of this degree here, this is our 5th. So we complete the 5th there. And because what the diagonal does is it adds confidence to that count, because this would imply that we're in a 5th. That would imply that we have now completed the 3, 4, 5, which would then yet again imply that we have a completed 5-wave sequence. So that gives us the 1 wave. So as I pull this off now, if indeed we've got a completed 1, I've got to go all the way back to my lowest low here that I can find relative to this structure. I pull from there to my high. Now this here's our A wave, very high B, looks like a double top for the B, and then this is the scream down. Now this is when Bitcoin goes on its tear, and it's just crushing everything in its wake. Interestingly, so I have this labeled as my C wave, we come just shy of this pivot. Now, that wave 1 is no longer relevant to this. So it would not matter that we overlap here, because on this degree here in white, this is the 4 where that's relevant. But it is interesting that this prior resistance area here offers, perhaps we've got a little support on a front run there. We don't make the 786. So that would tell us, as we know, a second wave anywhere from the 50 to the 786. We come deep, but we don't get to the 786, and now we've had this reaction. So all that would suggest is that we've just done a 1-2. Well, guys, if that's a 1-2, right? So where does that tell you about your 3? So just the algo pull here is up here, but if we put that into some context as to where this could be going for a third, if that's a 1-2. the deeper the 2, right? The deeper the 2, the higher the 3. So if this is going to be a 3, well, that's interesting. So there's 100% of the 1 right at the algo target. That's the negative 23.6, but the higher probability zone for that third is up here. Right? So which would suggest the 5 is, considerably higher from that yet still. So if we're going to see something along those lines, well, we've got a lot of upside to go here, and that's kind of interesting. So I like to draw these so I don't forget about them. I know that they're significant. So there's my statistically most probable zone for a third, 1618 to the 175. There's the negative 100 from this fib pole. So giving me a target that is, considering where we are, that's very appealing. So is there a trade here? Well, let's get back down to the smaller scaling so we can see it. Okay, so we know we've got good upside targets here. We've been very technical so far. Well, if this is my 2, well then of course I'm looking for subdivision in that wave. So it looks to me like I may have a 1, 2. So we're just trying to put in what would be the 1 wave, potentially here, the 1 wave of the third wave. Do you see that? Right? So here's our 1, 2. So we're looking for subdivision. So now this is kind of interesting, but that's not relevant. What's relevant here is this 1, 2. So that looks like it's probably 786. So there's my 1. So not uncommon, right? So not uncommon. It's interestingly about the exact same distance that we went here relative to the 786. So we've got a good setup here for a 1, 2. So how do we know? Because we can't be definitive about this yet until we see this turn impulsive. So we need to at least get to 100% of the 1. So if I draw that out so that we can have a qualifier, so if I take my 1 wave projected from my 2 low, so yet again, just as above, we have the negative 23, the algo target, and the 100% lining up. So that would give me good odds that we head there. Now additionally, I would open this up since I've got 3 pivots here, and of course I'm going to put a pitchfork on it. So from here to here to here, kind of interesting. So I might have to, that's where we are now. So I got a couple of targets up here. So this is my high probability zone for this 1, 2. If we're going to go to and through, that looks kind of interesting. That would be the 3, 4, sets up a 3, 4, 5. So first we got to get here, right? But if not, note this. So here's our corner pocket. Well, if we hit the 1 here, well, we have not gotten the median line. Okay, so that would be, that would be a point of concern relative to this staying impulsive, because I know from this corner I've got 80% odds of making the median line. Well, I can't make it here because I'm already too wide. It's going sideways here. So next target would be up here, which is consistent with the 1, 2, and the 3. That's my high probability zone. So I watch this. Now I want to see this start to get impulsive. Now it looks to me like I might have a diagonal forming here. So let me clear this up a little bit. So remember, if we're going to get a third, it would not be surprising if we subdivided yet again. So given that, looks like we may have, if this is my 1, 2, I'd go to a smaller degree and say potentially I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, putting in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going up. So let's change that color, put that in white. So potentially take it down to a lower degree. We'll go to the micro. So within this in green here, this 1, 2, here's my target for my third. It looks to me like I've just got a diagonal shaping up here for the 1, 2 of the third of the third, right? Waves within waves within waves. So let me tighten that up and get that right on my pivot. So if that's the case, then what do we got? We can play this as our next entry here. If that's my 1, I'm looking for a 2 down here between the 50 and the 618. So a little pullback here sets that up for us as potentially the 1 1 2 of the 1 2 of the 1 2 of the larger degree. So in blue here 1 2, in green 1 2, in white 1 2, all implying higher prices. But we can't, it's easy to look up here and think, oh wow, look at all that upside. But remember, it's always a fib fight both ways. So if I pull all of this off, we've got those marked. Okay, we can't be definitive yet about this. This could just be an A and then a B, and then we're putting in an A, B, C of a B. You got to deal with it coming back the other way. So you're going to have the fibs up here offering resistance coming back the other side. So let me move that off just so I can get it dialed in. So get right on the pivot, right on the pivot. Move the C over. Okay, let's pull back out. Now, so that's kind of interesting there as well. So we come up just shy of the 50 here. That's algo sell area. Where's that target? Down here. So you look at this and you say, okay, so far that's all very good and well for targets up here. But we can't be absolute, right? So don't take your eye off the ball completely because you're salivating about this 3 up here or even here, because we still have to break through the resistance on the way up, because there will be algorithms that have sold it there and that will sell it there and won't reverse until we get on the other side of the 65. So just approach with caution always. And while we're all looking for the long side in crypto, an algorithm doesn't give a shit. It's just going to sell the 50 every time it comes up. Doesn't matter. So it'll reverse here. So that's why this is an interesting target for us, for us to get them on board. These are going to be critical resistance areas to get through. So if we can keep maintaining this upward trajectory, we need to get this to start looking impulsive. We need this kind of action here. So right now we're just kind of, we're just moving sideways. There's an upward bias to it, but this doesn't look impulsive yet. So thus the potential here that all we're doing is putting in the 1 2, because we're not yet looking impulsive. We need to see this move here. That's impulsive. And that could be the A wave. And we could be, so potentially you have here, just to be sure that you understand what I'm saying, this is potentially an A. So here's your alternate count, an A, B, C. I'm going to put that in yellow so you get the idea. So let's take this off just so you don't forget. So you would want to keep this as an alternate. So if this becomes an ABC, which it certainly still could, given the extreme move here, likely, if so, we would have an ABC. So likely an A wave. It certainly could be an A wave. So that would set up on a larger degree, right? So let's. I know we like to think of the bullish side. B, C. Let me put that on a larger degree. So let's go here. So you understand this is still potentially a contender. Do you see that? So we could have, I'll put that in white so you see the difference. So you can't just ignore that as a possibility. We could have an A, and then we would have a 3-wave B here, right? So first tell, can we get through the 65? Can we get through that? If we get through that, we know a B wave can go as deep as the 786, so additional resistance here. So you got to be at least aware of the alternative. So why do you have to be more aware of that here? Because of the depth of that move here. So just structurally, and so here's that target down here. So that would invalidate the entire count. So no longer would you have this as a 1 wave, particularly if you're coming this deep. So you gotta understand that that's in play as well, coming back the other side. So far, all we've seen is resistance here in a front run sell at the 50 with a target down here. If it's going to come back up here, this could just as easily be another sell right here with this as the target. So just that's why you keep an alternate count, so that you're not surprised by what you see, and you're looking for the tells along the way. If this is going to be a 1-2, then I need this to get impulsive. I need to see an impulsive move here to define as a 1-2, because if that's my 2, this is my 3. I need to see impulsive action in there. Otherwise, this kind of meandering, slow grind higher would imply that you still have good probability that you've got one more move down. All right, so got to just, listen, I don't short crypto, so I'm not saying that that's setting up for a sell, but an algorithm sure as hell will. So I just don't want you to continually be looking up. It's not always blue sky. Yeah, that looks sexy. Yeah, if that's my 1-2, yeah, I love that, and I do. And I'm not saying don't get long. I'm just saying keep an alternate so you're not surprised, and look for clues in the price action to confirm what you're thinking. Right now we're thinking 1-2, but this doesn't look like a 3. That's my only point. Okay, how about there's 15 minutes. Okay, let me wrap there, and I'll be back. I've got one more to do today. Okay, guys, that's it for now.